mentioned something when you're thinking about kind of, hey, we want to introduce a new solution, or kind of we want to enhance something, or look at, how it kind of makes up that stack. I'm curious from both of you, kind of how do you approach your evaluation when you're looking at, vendors, new other pieces that you can say, okay, we need to achieve this objective, right? And it could be driven by compliance. Rob, you mentioned PCI, or other pieces that the organization's looking at. How does that come into your decision making when you're thinking about, what's your ideal tech stack? And two, kind of the ultimate finality is like, if you're looking to reduce funding, when's the time to kind of move solutions on, or you're able to remove that duplication, if you will?
I reevaluate pretty much everything we have every year, which has been 3 so far that I've been there. But they had a problem where they got really, really behind. They didn't upgrade hardware, they didn't upgrade software. They were stuck on old, outdated, their system was FileMaker based. They were still running FileMaker 16 when 19 was out. Won't even run on current operating systems. Not getting stuck in that situation is my key one. Is it still supported? If it's not going to be supported in another year or two, I'm looking at moving off of it already, because I want to be gone by the time they are. I don't want to get stuck trying to work with that again.
Yeah, I agree with Rob in that if the support's not there, and it's not going to be something that I even go for. I talked about this at one point when we started doing a single sign-on solution. That shocking, I think, to nobody. The two choices were Okta and JumpCloud, and it was hands down. Even if I think they were roughly equivalently priced for what we were looking at doing. And even if the price was 10-20% more for JumpCloud, I think we still would have gone with JumpCloud, because the support of, not only the supporting of the hardware and the devices that we have, but also the community support that JumpCloud has been phenomenal. So that, I think, realistically, I'd like to say this isn't true, but price is probably always the very first factor. But then, point 1A is support. And if that exists, I would easily rather pay a little bit more if it means that I have an easy support channel, because in the long run, it's going to mean that I spend less time debugging something versus, just talking with the support channel and getting answers there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit on an important point, right? And so kind of price is one consideration, right? It's kind of when you're looking at, anything else that we're purchasing within our daily lives, there's a piece of that, but then there's all these other additional factors, right? So one is, hidden cost of support. Others might be like the hidden cost of integrating it into other stuff, right? Does it talk to all these things, right? You mentioned kind of looking at, adding in elements of biometrics, Firefox, like how do all these different pieces come together? And so you mentioned kind of, hey, if support, price and kind of support 1A, I'm curious, what are some of the elements, or kind of if you want to just walk through kind of a mental checklist in your mind of things that you look for, right? If I were to present you with some amazing, new technology a friend introduced, kind of like, what would you go through in your head to kind of say, oh, is this right for me or not? Or should I put this in kind of a bucket of, hey, this is a big rock that maybe we can look at within 2023 or next year, kind of other pieces?
Yeah, I mean, when finding new vendors or software, a transparent pricing model is always the first thing I look for. I understand it sometimes, but I hate the companies that say, oh, you have to talk to sales to get a price estimate, because it doesn't instill the confidence that, if I go to Chase for a new solution, he's going to charge me $10 a user per month. But if Rob goes to Chase for the exact same thing, he's not going to charge Rob $5 a month per user. That doesn't instill confidence in me. And I understand at the end of the day, every company in the world is, there to turn a profit, or at least to become stable, but also do that without destroying, messing with your clientele. So yeah, transparent pricing. What does the community support look like? That's not even including, taking JumpCloud, for example, it's not even including JumpCloud staff, but the public Slack channel, the community forum. but then also what does the staff support look like? And integrations, when we moved to JumpCloud, we ended up bumping a couple of our software plans up because they paywalled single sign-on. And while it sucks to swallow that cost, it also saves me time and it saves our employees time when signing in to things or trying to figure out passwords. For me, it was onboarding and offboarding employees. We have a very large contract with the state of Iowa that, you know, we have to be compliant in certain things. So if we terminate an employee for whatever reason, I have to have their stuff gone within, you know, an hour. Previously, it took me half an hour to do everything, but you know, with JumpCloud, I can deactivate 90% of the stuff with the single click of a button. So that's kind of, you know, what I go through: price, support, and integrations.
Yeah. Okay. Rob, how about you? What's your mental checklist look like?
Well, like he said, price, and so aggravating when you can't get a price on something. I understand if it's like over 500, contact sales for a custom quote, fine. I got 15 people. I need to know what it's going to cost, and I'm not going to call you and waste my time. Does it work with my current stack? That's a big one. Does it support SSO? Again, user workflow. Already got pushback on them changing passwords. I want it to work with JumpCloud for identity, you know, confirmation, authentication. Thank you. Things like that. After that, it's a matter of trying it out, seeing if it works. Again, what is the cost for each user? What's that ratio? How much does it increase over what we've got? But I think the biggest one is, does it prevent tool sprawl? Does it fit into our current stack? And does it have single sign-on? You know, and still be affordable?
I think something Rob said reminded me of this. I think everything that both of us said, I agree with. And then on top of that is, what does the contract look like? You know, I won't name them, but we have a creative vendor that we use that unfortunately locks us into, we buy X licenses and we have to pay for X licenses for the entire year. And if I add one in the middle, I can't remove it later on. JumpCloud and a handful of other vendors are really nice in that they have a testing policy. So if I want to add in, you know, conditional access, for example, and test it for a month or so with myself and my junior sysadmin, I can do that without having to sign a new contract or upping my price. Or even if, you know, like I said, even if we are in an annual subscription, if I can just pay for 2 months upfront for me to test that new feature, as long as it's not like another $2,000 for 2 months, I'll go ahead and do it. But yeah, once you lock me into a year contract where if I want to even test something, I can't do that, that's not, you know, it's kind of a hard sell for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit on an important one. We actually had a comment come through from Jacob, you know, he said, you know, question one, does it do what it needs to do, right? You know, is the solution actually, you know, hitting the problems and the use cases that we need to solve from an organization? Because then very quickly you can see, well, it has 80%, but covers these gaps. And then is that another 20% that we need to then cover for? So kind of Rob, come back into your comment of, does it prevent tool sprawl? Does it, you know, is this another nice to have that we can add in, or is it truly something that's net new but critical, and we kind of agreed to it from an organizational perspective that, you know, it's worth that, you know, additional overhead to kind of come into it? And it feels like, you know, once you get that, it's got to be right there, right? Or really solve that crucial issue for it to kind of have, let's say, an impact in terms of how you think about things holistically and looking at that.
Please subscribe and check out more content from us.